Hi everyone. Just before I finish for the weekend, I thought I'd jump on a really quick live just to share some reflections, get my words out from the last week. I know a lot of you like me, like to reflect on your learnings at the end of every single week. So something I do is reflect on what I've learned this week. So I thought I'd share some of those with you, as well as share some news about what's happening in the community, and also some upcoming events that we've got planned, that we've got in the works, that we're thinking of doing over the next few months. God, I can't even get my words out. You can tell it's late on a Friday evening, can't you? So last thing before I finish for the weekend and put this laptop away. So week two, back in full-time employment for James. So what have I learned this week? Well, firstly, I think um, mandatory learning. So I'm still stuck in mandatory learning hell, and it feels a bit like purgatory now. So yeah, it's. I know mandatory learning is something we have to do, and compliance training, and all these kind of things. And no offense to any of the wonderful instructional designers that I know and that are in our community, but goodness me, there must be a better way than some of this. For me, when you're designing compliance training, mandatory learning, just make it as simple and as painless as possible, because the end user, the new starters, etc., they just want to get it done, and they want to get on with getting up to speed with their new role and get involved in what they're doing in their new job. They don't want to spend days and days and hours and endless quizzes and passes and all this kind of stuff trying to get through the compliance training. So yeah, this definitely feels a bit like purgatory at the moment, but nearly there. And hopefully I'll finish that off early next week, and then I can put it to bed, and don't have to worry about it for a while. So anyway, mandatory learning. There's my rant on mandatory learning. And again, apologies to the instructional designers. I know there are some fantastic instructional designers out there, and I'm sure you wouldn't create mandatory learning hell. Um, I guess the other reflection that I've had this week, so in between mandatory learning hell, lots and lots of meetings, getting to know people, getting to find out what's been happening in the project and all that kind of stuff. So I think one of the big things that I started to feel was a little bit of overwhelm and like information overload and lots of stuff happening. Um, and so to be honest with you, I had 2 days out from the project where I had a previous commitment with another client, and did some leadership training, and I think I really needed those 2 days, because it was feeling like, oh my God, what's going on? There's loads and loads of information, loads of people to meet, loads of people to talk to. And actually, 2 days out was really quite helpful. But I think I guess the learning really is, it is when you join something new, and not even when you join something new, there are times in learning and development where it can feel really overwhelming when you multiple stakeholders, lots of information, lots of data to sift through and try and um, um, you know get to the bottom of things and understand what's needed and understand the problem and the challenges. It can feel a little bit overwhelming. So I guess the big learning for me is just take a step back when that happens. Take a step back, and just try and get a break away from it, because otherwise just that overwhelm is just going to continue and continue and continue. And then my final, I guess, reflection on this week was I spent quite a bit of time in Branch this week, which was wonderful. And I met so many amazing people, who are absolute superstars. The work that they do, so busy, queues of people constantly, queues out the door at lunchtime, um, and the stuff that they need to know. And they need to know it like that, because there's so much variety and different varied things. 1 minute you're dealing with some posts, the next minute you're dealing with a driving license query or a foreign exchange query, or it's just the mind boggles the amount of information that these wonderful, dedicated, amazing members of staff have in their head. They're literally like walking encyclopedias. Um, but that obviously got me then thinking about training and how people are trained, and then why people joining leave because obviously they look at these people who've been there for a long time and go, wow, I'll never have that amount of knowledge in my head and know all this stuff. So it got me really, really thinking about learning in the flow of work, or as Bob Marshall would call it, learning while working, and how do we help these people learn while they work. And it got me thinking about traditionally how we've trained people, and I've done this myself, back in my days at the bank when I was creating, welcome and onboarding training, systems training, process training, compliance training. We tend to train really transactionally. So, if this happens, do X, follow this process, do X, Y, Z, you'll get to the right outcome. So, lots and lots of transactional training to, this is what you need to do. If this happens, do this. If that happens, do that. Um, and it really got me thinking about actually, if we want to empower people, if we want people to take accountability and responsibility and to want to develop and learn more, actually transactional training isn't the way, because when we teach people transactional training, we teach them to do one thing, and to follow a transaction through to the end. Um, and when we ask them to step outside of that transaction, that's when obviously they go, brain doesn't know how to do that, not been shown that. That isn't part of the process. But if you think about work now and the way the world of work is changing and how much modern technology we're laying onto people, and work has become more creative and we're empowering people more, we're asking people to be more creative in their thinking, to take more accountability, to take more responsibility. Um, and actually that transactional training no longer works, because actually what we have to train people to do is think beyond the training, if you like, think beyond the transaction and start to understand the why, and give them the hunger to find out more and to learn more. I always think when I do change work, I talk about, if you want to teach someone, sorry, if you want to build a ship, that famous saying, if you don't want to build a ship, sorry, if you want to build a ship, can't get my words out. This is terrible. If you want to build a ship, don't give people orders to cut down wood and put wood together. Make them yearn for the open sea. And it's exactly the same. I think often in L&D, we teach people transactionally what to do rather than actually teaching them the why or the bigger context, or to get them to yearn to want to know more and understand more about it. So that was a real eye opener for me as well. Sort of the dangers of transactional training taken to the nth degree, where people have huge amounts of knowledge, but actually outside of that very narrow field of doing what I have to do and following this process through X, Y, Z, actually, if that process was to change or I get thrown a curveball, I can't think beyond that because I've been shown actually the process is, the computer says no, if you like. So that was interesting to kind of reflect on this week and think about, kind of the training that I've done in the past, the things that I've created. So there's some reflections for you, anyhow, from my week two. Hopefully they're helpful to you. Um, and then just a few bits of news from around the community. So um, as I mentioned earlier this week, the new supplier directory is live on the ldmastermind.com website. So if you head to ldmastermind.com, obviously you've got all the information about memberships on there, and approved supplier, and there's an approved supplier directory in there. So we've updated that. It's got some great new features, but of course, with it being new, even I haven't had a chance to play with all of it. But what I want to do, and I promise I'll do this at some point very, very soon, is get our approved suppliers together and start to look at what we can do now with that directory and how we can support you more, and use things like social media using that directory, and how we can continue to help and promote your businesses. So I haven't forgotten about it. Definitely going to happen. Just again, with everything going on, I just haven't got round to it yet. But the new supplier directory is live, and we will be doing lots more social media moving forwards in the near future. Which ties me in nicely to something else that's happened really exciting this week. So we've done a tie-up with a company called 5Mins, and basically what they do is they take your video content, and they break it into small little chunks, so little learning bites, bite-sized learning, like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, etc. So I've got the first sort of batch of those back this week, which was absolutely amazing. Some fantastic stuff, and I need to go back to them as well with some feedback as well. But really, really impressed. Fantastic. And again, we'll use those in social media as well to drive traffic to the website, but also just to put little bits of nuggets of great information, because we've got so much stuff on the ldmastermind.com website. There's about 43 courses or so on there now, all of great L&D information and great L&D courses. So we've got so much content on there that we can then spread out and spread the love. We're going to get these guys in, and they're going to convert it down into little chunks of little video, so sort of 90-minute, 2-minute long videos. So that's some exciting news that's happening around the community. So in terms of upcoming events, so something to let you know, and again, not sure of exact dates now. We're hoping to do this sort of end of June, July time, we're thinking. But we are going to be doing our very first L&D Mastermind meets Dragon's Den event. So we did L&D Mastermind meets Question Time last month. Again, thank you to Rob. He put on a fantastic event, and to all of our guest panel of experts. They were amazing. Look out for the video replays of that. They're around on social media, or on our L&D Mastermind YouTube channel. But L&D Mastermind meets Dragon's Den, we are going to be getting some of our approved suppliers to present and pitch to a panel of L&D buyers. So these are people who actually have what's the word I'm looking for? Decision making, buying, budgets in different organizations within here in the UK, and they're going to be watching these pictures and giving their feedback. So L&D Mastermind meets Dragon's Den. It's our next new event that we're launching this year. Going to be around June, July time. As we get nearer to it, and we know who's going to be definitely appearing, all that kind of stuff, we will be live with more information and let you know how you can watch that and all that kind of stuff. Um, on that theme of lives, obviously, we're trying to do more lives for the community and communicate more to you. So I'm really keen to find out what else you would like to see in terms of lives. Some of the ideas that I have are sort of live interviews where maybe we get members of the community onto an interview and we interview them about their role in L&D. How did they get to their position? What have they done in the past? What do they think about what's happening in L&D, future of L&D, all that kind of stuff. So kind of live L&D interviews with people who are in the role, doing the work. So that's one idea that I had. Also with our approved suppliers, maybe doing something like live supplier demos, so they could actually come on live and do a short sort of 10-15 minutes actually demoing their products for you, get you to see the quality and the fantastic work that our approved suppliers do. So that's another idea. And then also we've got our team as well. So our L&D Mastermind team, who I don't thank enough, but honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I thank them so much for all the help and support they give to me around the community. And we've got this wonderful team of volunteers and experts. So I would love to do maybe some lives with some of our team on their areas of expertise, which I'm sure will be really useful for you as well, to learn about their expertise and what they do, and share some of their sort of expert L&D knowledge with you. So they're just some ideas of some lives that we could do, or that we're thinking of doing. But I would love to get your ideas as well. So if you want to put it in the comments or anything like that, just share with me your ideas of what kind of L&D mastermind lives you would like to see, and we'll try and get those scheduled in, and do those in the near future for you. So that is it from me, folks. So hopefully, that was a quick overview, as I say, of some of my reflections on the last week and some of the stuff that is happening in our community. And Yeah, have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Make sure you rest up, put those laptops away, and yeah, hope you all have a great week next week too. All right, speak to you all soon. Bye for now.